Yeah, that's basically it. It's like the problem is always going to be like when you define something, your goal is to make sure that everything that you are trying to define is like in that definition, right? So the problem with, especially when it comes to like social constructs, when you make that definition, if you exclude something, then it's not really a strict definition.
Okay, but this is my problem. Is I don't. They weren't asking him what does a woman smell like. Yeah, that's a place where you could invoke qualia and be like, "Whoa, this is a subjective experience. It's very hard for me to invoke. There are no real words to explain this. Anytime I try to explain it, you will actually not be able to see the experience. You'll never be able to feel it." What they asked him is, "What is the essence? Like, what is the essence of a woman?" And that should have a definition.
It really can. The problem is it's going to be difficult. I know you use the joke of, well, what's like a cup, right? I always use the one that's like, what's a chair? Because a chair's a really good one. Because like the problem with is like, what's your definition of a chair?
Sure, a chair is for is something that I can sit on and
See,
has a back.
but what about a beanbag chair? What about a every time you give a definition, there's going to be some strict outlier. That's why whenever we talk about like definitions, what we're really talking about is like what you think of when you hear the word, not what the word actually is, because it's going to be really difficult to make a strict definition on a lot of things.
But let me ask you this: if I ask you what is a chair, is the first thing you're thinking about is a bean chair, or would is that some another category completely, which is why we actually invoke this new noun upon it, which is the bean. Like it actually kind of transcended the category of a chair. So at some point it stops becoming a sincere chair and it changes like forms and becomes this bean chair. You know what I mean? Now, like for example, if I tell you what is a bean chair, would you be able to describe a chair exactly that we were talking about earlier? I don't think so. So that means the bean chair changes the form and changes the description of that thing.
True, but it's still a chair. It's still encompassed under that word.
Yeah, yeah, but you create a new category. So I guess um, what I guess Destiny was trying to get to is you're gonna have to create categories for these things. Is that what he was trying to get to? Is that these women will transcend womanhood and they will become this new thing that we cannot even describe because the essence changed so much.
No, I think the major point is that like when you're making a definition, you're trying to encompass as many things as possible, but you do have to understand that you won't. You will, if you do it correctly, you might be able to encompass everything, but you maybe won't. So you should try to encompass as most things as possible, especially but adhering to the definition of the word. So like woman isn't like female, where like woman is more of a it's a more of an identity, right? Like what is a woman? Like what do you feel like when you identify as a woman? What is identifying as a woman? So there's the answer is like what's that? Like you're not asking like what's female, you're saying what's woman. When woman is an identity, not like a physical like gene.
See, my problem is I think we're like misunderstanding the question. Like I think he's not trying to describe what is the feeling of what a woman feels like. I'm trying to
Well, he's asking the
just explain
definition.
to me why a woman is not a man. Like explain to me why I should not be
But that's a
using the
different
word
question than what's a
man to
woman.
describe a woman.
I can give you like it's gonna be a boring answer for you. But like whenever I think of what's a woman, it's gonna be either someone that has the traits like there's the obvious answer of someone who is biologically a woman. There's also the answer of someone who identifies and has traits that we commonly associate with womanhood, or identifies as something that we would commonly associate with womanhood. But obviously, that's going to be person by person, right?
Okay, yeah. So they associate with womanhood differently. Okay, so let me ask you this:
I think
What is
everyone
the
does. Like, cause
essence
me and
of
you are
womanhood? How do you know they're being womanhood? How do you know they're not being something else and they just are misusing the word? Like, what if we cannot even define womanhood? How do we know they're being woman? Like, is there something like, for example, if I tell you what is a woman, what is the characteristics that line up to you that align with these girls that we can call them women? Because a lot of these actual trans women, actually they don't line up with any characteristic that we would give a female. Like for example, compassion. Uh, some of them are fucking brutal. They beat your ass. They're strong. They're
but there are going to be
big.
some
Some of them
as
don't
well,
even cut
though.
off their dicks. They just like dress up, like drag queens, and they actually consider themselves as trans. Some of them don't even take hormones. So why are we actually considering them as trans? Maybe they're misdefining themselves because they misunderstand their essence.
Well, the main thing is going to be for that. What you gave was like an example of one side. There's also going to be the other side, though, where there's going to be women that are, there's going to be biological men that you personally wouldn't be able to tell that they are a man unless you like had a microscope or you looked at their genes, right? It's going to more commonly come down to what they express as. Like, how do you view them, not what they actually are. And that's how it is commonly, right? Like, you don't see a person's genitalia when you walk down the street. Hopefully,
I
at
know,
least.
but I think
Unless,
what we would have to do is we would have to create a new category, just like we did with the bean chair. We would have to give, for example, a category to this man, just like, for
well, they
example, a
do.
man
That's
with.
why
Let me just finish my point. For
yeah, I got
example, a
you.
man with the tits, if it's usually hormonal imbalance, and even now when they're growing these tits, if they don't do it through surgery, it's hormonal imbalancement. And so what like the actual scientific name for that is a man with gynecomastia. We don't call him a woman just because he had tits. We give him a new definition. We say he's a man with gynecomastia or gynecomastic man. And so that's his definition. He's not just a man, he's a gynecomastic man, because you cannot say he's a woman just because he has these tits, because this is a hormonal imbalance that can actually affect him detrimentally. So I think what we have to do is we have to create a new category, and then that's what these men fall upon, is this new category of they're trying to figure out manhood or trying to figure out womanhood, and we have to give it a new category name. Like we can say they're men, like, abnormal. No, I'm just giving you an example. Abnormal men, confused. I don't know. It's a bad example, but maybe you can give a better synonymous word.
Well, yeah, the problem is you're describing exactly what it is. It's a new category. That's why there's cis and there's trans. Those are the categories. If you want to look at it like that.
Yeah, but this is very important, because when we just say they're men, and it's literally a woman that was born a woman and is. I should not be, to be honest with you, I don't think socially I should be treating her as a man. Like, I should not be as brazen as I would be with a man. I should not. I should be a little bit more cordial with her. I should, like, even if she thinks of herself as a man towards me, I'm not gonna treat her as a man. I shouldn't be punching her in the face. I'm not gonna do that. Even if she agitates me, I'm gonna try to calm the situation. I'm not gonna take it as seriously. Like, for example, maybe it's because the threat level is not as high, and that happens to me even with other men that are weaker than me. I don't even care. I'll mess around. I'll get close to their faces. I don't even care.
Yeah,
Because
little
the
bro
threat level
syndrome.
is
Yeah,
not high,
yeah.
so it's not necessarily as a woman. But I even do that to men as well, like weaker men. So maybe it is because she's weak. Maybe there is a characteristic there that she shares. I don't know, man. But we're getting a little bit deep, so I want to dive a little bit deeper into this.
I mean, but you said it. You actually did it pretty well. Yeah, like the same way you did. You said that like I treat them like they're weaker. You said this, you do the same to like little guys, right? Oh, sorry, little men. Little guys, pedo. Little men, right? Like because you do feel like you're stronger than them, but like that just comes the way you view
I
them,
just
right?
got the
Like that isn't
word
from.
P. Weirdo. With
But that is.
well, don't ever say that when you have blue hair, bro. Even though you're young, I think the blue hair and the earrings just make it a little bit weird.
But like you can see that like even you don't put them into the category of like their own category. You just look at them at because you think you're physically stronger than them. But what I would say is that there are going to be some where you don't know that unless you do have to like unless you see their genitalia or their DNA or even that. Like there are going to be people who express as female and you think they're female until you see something to contrary to
But
that.
isn't this something that we could basically just, if we over expand a little bit to any other word, basically we cannot define anything.
Kind of. You can
Everything
define
kind of
it.
shares an essence with something else. Like a sword always shares an essence with a knife, and a knife always shares an essence with a dagger, and the dagger shares an essence with a baton, and the baton shares an essence with a gun, and a gun shares an essence with a bazooka, and a bazooka shares essence with an F-51. Because they all kind of have that thing in them that kind of similar to one another.
True, but that's why we make definitions because it splits those. That's why you're able to split those.
Okay, so this is why we should can like, for example, if I ask you what is a woman, how would we define that? Like, what's a socially appropriate definition for this?
So like do you want my definition?
Yeah. You, but but you're gonna use it like politically correct, right? So I want that
Yeah,
politically
I mean
correct answer.
mostly. I mean, I would just say like a woman is like a person who just identifies with the like gender identity of a woman or if the female gender identity, right?
Okay, so it's a person that identifies with female gender identity, and is that, do you think,
Like
what Destiny was
womanhood,
trying to
better word for
invoke?
womanhood.
Do you think Destiny was trying
He
to invoke that as
so
well?
what he was trying to explain is this very complex idea which you already tapped on, like you already
The
talked to a viewer
qualia.
about it. Yes, exactly. That's what he was trying to get at.
But I think for me, like, to counter that, it would be, I want to talk about. I don't think we're talking about qualia. I think we're not talking about the subjective experience of what a woman is. We're talking about the definition of, like, why is this cup not a woman, like
But we
like
kind
the
of
essence of why this is different than that. And I think that's where the he took this wrong. I think that's where I would argue is like, hey man, let's get to the essence of what makes a woman a woman. We should be able to agree on a definition that makes a woman a woman. Then we'll disagree and maybe make new categories so we can invoke more I don't know, equality or whatever. But the first thing we have to do is know what the hell is womanhood, because basically, even when I asked you what is the definition of womanhood, it's a regressive definition. It's whoever explains themselves as a woman, but then that means we'll never know what a woman is.
true, but that's kind of like that's because it's like an identity. Like it's not like a physical thing, right? You're
I
not
know,
talking about
but
like female.
that means that guy can say he's a woman, but shares nothing with this woman, but they're
Well,
woman. So we're supposed to think they're the same essence because the word means something. Because when I give you the word woman, like for example, if I give you the man, if I say a man with gynecomastia, it paints you a different picture than I say a woman or I say a trans woman. Every single one of these words paints you a different picture, and so it's very important to use the right word, or we start confusing. We start thinking that that dude that just yesterday, like Dylan Mulvaney, let's use that as an example. Everyone is taking him seriously as a woman. Literally last year he started his puberty blockers. He's like 30 years old. He's older than me. No tits, didn't cut off his dick. He has the bulge. He's happy with the bulge. Literally last year he did the transformation. So it hasn't even hit him yet. He still has his voice, still has everything. He has to wear a wig, whatever. And that guy, he claims that his essence is a woman. Is often a woman. How can we do that?
well, not his essence. He claims that he just identifies as a woman.
But okay, that means we can say this is not a woman. This is something. This is a trans woman.
I mean, you could, yeah, that would be a correct thing to say. But a trans woman is a woman. Like
No,
that's
see,
like a
that's the
beanbag
thing.
chair is a chair.
No, no. Well, I see
That's
what
why
you
you
mean because,
add.
but if I, for example, say a man, this is like let's say this girl is transforming to a man. Let's say if I want to call her, this is a confused man. That doesn't mean she's necessarily a man. I'm just saying that word. He's a confused man. I'm labeling him that way, but that doesn't necessarily mean
But
I'm
you're
giving him
labeling
the
them as a
essence of manhood.
man.
Huh?
But that's exactly what you're doing. You're
No,
saying
no,
the
no.
way
I
they
think when I
express to
create that
you.
category, I change the essence of what he is. Now, he does share similarities. Like, there's a reason why a chair is not a bean chair. It does share similarities with a
Well,
chair,
a beanbag chair is a chair. It's just a type
but
of
it
chair.
shares similarities, shares the essence, but it's a different form completely. So we give it a whole different category. So maybe things can share
We
essence,
give
but
it,
once they change forms, we have to give them a whole different category. So a
but
woman
you
maybe
might be
can
right
share,
about the different
like for
category.
example,
But
men and women, they all share an essence. They all are men, like they're all humanity. So they have that same essence, but there's a category that switches between them, and that's the form. And so that's why we have to actually, okay, so maybe I've been dealing with this wrongly. Maybe that's why Destiny actually kind of can confuse this, because his qualia deals with why forms appear differently. Like for example, a wallet for me might be different than a wallet for you. I remember we had this discussion the first time we ever met.
yep, because you said like, what is the essence of the wallet? And you were like, you can't change essence, and I was like, yes, you can because the leather that makes up that wallet was once leather and a cow, and we would agree that those are two different things.
Yeah, and so that would be the changing of the form, but the wallet would still have the essence of the thing that can hold your money. But a wallet can look like something else. It could be really like like not. It could be like something stamped behind your thing, and you can call it a wallet. But maybe that guy, man, this is really hard because I think what we're doing is
Well,
we're making
yeah,
fallacious arguments. I think we are not knowledgeable enough about language, and we're
well,
trying to
well,
claim language and invoke language.
kind of, but the problem that you're going to come into is that everyone has to use language, right? So whenever you're trying to make like some like distinct category, some distinct change to the way people
What's
act,
up,
it
Kanye?
has to be in a way people can understand. So when you say that is the main problem with like the gender like debate, right? Is that old people or the old ideal of what a woman was never a trans woman. But the problem, or at least my opinion, is I don't think I can ever be
Oh, his
convinced
life.
that including
You're
trans
cool
women
with
under
Kanye.
the scope of woman is like damaging to women as a whole. You can go into trans sports, which we'd probably agree, but I don't see as like a whole
Well, I
that
do see it
that's
as a
damaging.
no. I do see it as damaging because, for example, man is not a protected class. So if you could invoke, we could invoke that upon man. I don't care. We could say trans man, gynomastic man. This woman is trying to become a man. I don't care. We can do that, but we don't ever have. We can never go and invoke and force somebody to become that protected class. And by switching identities, like you cannot switch your identity to become a Native American. So why can you switch your identity to become this protected class that is a woman?
Because you're not changing when you say you're changing your identity. You're not changing your identity. You'd be changing your race in that
Because
chance.
there's a
Trans
reason
people
she's
don't.
a protected class. Like the reason she's a protected class is because if everyone invokes that they are her, she's gonna be in ruins. You know what I mean? Like there's a reason she's a protected class. Like womanhood is one of the first protected classes before I think slaves. You know, before
I'm following.
any religious class, before anything, I think it was women's. And so like womanhood is a protected class. So when anybody can show up and say this is why religious identity is so hard to determine and actually needs testing. You don't actually just your church has to actually claim that you can invoke your religious right upon the state. Like you have to be able to bring evidence that you're from your church, that you are this person, and that you can invoke your religious basically get the exemption religiously. You have to bring evidence. These people are not bringing evidence because these are protected classes. You cannot just shove yourself into protected classes. You cannot just become a church and become tax exempt. You have to show proof that you're a church because this is a protected avenue. This is the only way they can make money because they lose a lot of all their money is donations. So this is you have to get into these classes. They're protected for some reason. So why are we opening them up? I'm okay with opening up the man class because it's not a protected class. Let's add everyone into the manhood and let them compete with one another and see whoever is the biggest man. But let's never add things to the woman class because that's an actual protected class.
Well, the problem with that is I would agree with you on like a very, very micro level, but you're not adding trans women to the cis woman class. You're adding it to the woman as an identity.
Yeah, yeah, and they're
Like,
becoming a protected class. They're getting the same exact scholarships that women would. They can apply to those scholarships. They can
yeah,
go into
here's
their
the problem.
avenues. They can go into their locker room and their bathrooms, and a lot of people would claim that they're actually not even woman necessarily. Maybe they would claim they're trans woman and they would give them that like category, but a lot of people would not be able to agree that they're women. For example, let me ask you this, Isaac. Well, how can you console and how can you reconcile that, for example, for religious and traditional people, biological imperative trumps the social imperative. So when they, for example, women that are religious and Muslim, or maybe even nunhoods in Christianity, they don't show their hair. So the only way they can show their hair is between other women or in a secluded area between their family. So let's say there's a woman gym that opened up and it's only secluded and it's everything's closed up. You see that all the time with spas, hairdressers. They really close up, curtain out all the windows. Nobody can. It's all female attendees. There's no like cameras in the lockers and stuff like that to protect women, and barely any cameras really. It's just for the entrance and just to make sure that there's to catch people or maybe from outside. And this is to protect the women so they can feel comfortable to go work out because other than that they would be in hijab and it would be very hard for them to do it. Let's say there's a gym like that, right? What would you say to these women if a person claims to be a man with his social imperative but is not actually biologically sorry, he claims to be a woman socially but is not biologically a woman. To them the biological imperative matters the most. So what would you say to them? Do they have to take this person in as because he's a protected class and you should just he has rights, he can invoke upon you, even though you are the true protected class as a woman? This is your space and you are actually the protected class. How would you deal with this situation? Because this is going to happen very soon.
Yeah, it's a good. So is it connected to like a religion at all? Is
So
that what you were talking about?
tradition, I call this tradition because traditionally speaking, the biological imperative was the only thing that people could look at as indicators to what people are, and so they are looking biologically. Now people put makeup on, men can cut off their tits and stuff. But it's clear, like it's very hard. Like when you take off the makeup, when you remove everything, it's clear as day that this is a man. It's or at least it's not a woman because the
Sometimes.
jawline is
Sometimes
thicker.
it's the opposite though.
You're right. You're right. But to these women, it actually doesn't matter. They have to have this long hair. They actually like they have certain characteristics that they won't accept into this gym. What would you say to them? Are they being racist? Are they sexist? Should they? Because now they're gonna have to force to close that gym down, and now these women cannot have a space for themselves to gym because this is kind of racist. You know what I mean? This is like bigotry,
Yeah.
and in America, this is not allowed. You know that?
I kind of yeah, I get what you're saying because like protected classes can be discriminated on. There are some characteristics that you can't discriminate against people on. So I'm trying to think about how I would view
So
this.
yeah,
I
can
would
you give me an answer to that? Because what I'm seeing right now is America would shut down the whole gym. The whole gym gets
yeah.
shut down. The woman's
Do you
is a protected class, but it doesn't trump the trans woman, even though they're religious and
discriminate?
woman. They're two protected classes. That doesn't trump the other woman. And if she makes a complaint or a lawsuit, I feel like she gets a settlement or she gets to actually win the whole lawsuit.
So here's the problem I'm having with when I think about this because like so if it was connected to religion, it would be obvious because there's like religious exemptions, but that's easy, right? So like, what's the hard part of this? Like,
How
what if
how
there
I
isn't?
don't think you can even invoke those. Like, how can the gym say, "Well, we have religious people in here, so we couldn't bring this
Yeah,
girl"?
yeah, that's
What
what
if
I'm
she says,
saying.
"I'm
If
a
it was
religious
a religious
Catholic
building,
woman"?
yeah, gyms aren't. Yeah, gyms aren't religious buildings. So that's what I'm saying. It's a good question. So I'm trying to think
So
because
it would be literally the biological, literally the only disagreement. Like, for example, why can men not show up and join this gym is because your biology does not line up with this, and we are a traditional gym, and we have women here that are hijabis and nuns, and we need them to remove their hijab, and they can only do that with other women, and the biology is the only imperative that matters to us as traditional people. You actually have no answer except to shut down that gym. That gym actually cannot be active in America, at least in California for
no, no,
sure.
no, no, no. I'm pretty. Yeah, when it comes to like trans women entering like women's spaces, especially when you're talking about like college sports, that's where I do become a little bit more conservative. Like I don't think that trans women should be in women's sports. Call me
Okay,
crazy. Um, so that's why I'm actually
but
trying to think because it's a
why?
good question. So I am trying to think because I understand that like why is that a good question? Because in America, it's very we try our hardest not to be like discriminatory, right? We have a lot of laws to protect people against discrimination based on some characteristics
We got
that
a
like
good
they don't have
question
a
then, boy.
choice in the matter of, or they don't have, or that are a protected class, right? So I'm trying to think that I know there are religious exemptions, but I'm trying to think what would be the legal reasoning for the exemption here, because I know there are women-only gyms. So I'm wondering, could you make like cis women-only gyms? Because if you could do that, that would be the easy answer, right?
Interesting,
Just make the gyms
interesting.
cis women only.
Yeah, but
But I'm
even
trying to.
damn, but even those women gyms, I think they can have the right to disagree and kick out any woman or man. Like they can basically, if a woman, I think what they do is they invoke a legal right to be able to just not accept any member that they don't want. So I don't know if the actual trans people can actually claim that their protected class is being this is an extremism. They're being discriminated against. I don't know if they can claim that because basically the gym just says, "Hey, we don't accept you. We hold the right to decline you." I don't know, but it seems like he has a case actually against that gym because he himself is a protected class. Like if he wasn't a protected class, I don't think he has anything. Like if he's just a random man, he cannot claim anything because. But then he invokes his trans manhood or trans womanhood upon it. Now he has a case.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a very what's it called?
Off the record.
Unsatisfying answer, but I think the no, no, no,
Okay, okay.
an
Unsatisfying.
unsatisfying answer
Come on, man.
because
All
I don't
right, you're better
understand.
than it, but okay.
I know, but the problem is because I don't know how when it comes to like my ideas and stuff, it comes from like a very sense of like legal. So I know that like I'm wondering
Kanye, we
how
got
because
him.
I know women's
We
clubs
got
are a
him.
thing, right? Like there are what you describe is a thing that there are. There are clubs that only allow women. There are gyms that only allow women, right? Those are a thing. I'm wondering legally how do those get by discrimination laws? Actually, I can just look it up. Let me just look that up because
Yeah,
that is a question
let's
I'm
look
having
that
right
up really
now.
quickly. That's a good
How
question
do
because
women?
these traditional people, and I'll talk while you're looking that up. These traditional people are very concerned with biology because that was the only indicator they could line up with, and we can tell that that's actually an important indicator because even doctors look at it, lawyers look at it, when they like judges look at it when they place the offender in what jail they want to place him. It's actually a serious indicator, and it's a very strong indicator. Till now, it's used even though with all the new technologies and I guess the ability to subjectively read people's minds. I don't know how well that is, but till now, it's a big imperative. Like the doctors necessarily need to know biologically what you are. So to me, it makes sense. Like I think the traditional women have an argument that hey, we don't care about you what you are socially. Our biggest imperative that we care about is the biological imperative. What are you biologically? What were you born with? And if you're not this, then you gotta get kicked out. But you know what's happening is this is what's gonna happen, Isaac. And I want you to answer this They're in California, I think. Now you are allowed to change your birth certificate after being 2 years, and they're actually acting like this is actually a discriminatory law because you need to be trans for 2 years before you can change your birth certificate of your birth gender. You know about this, right? And they're acting like this is extreme
No, but it's
discrimination.
California, so I'm not surprised.
I swear to God, can you believe all you have to do is wait 2 years and they're saying this is discriminatory? They want 6 months probationary periods or less. They want you to be able to change your birth certificate gender. They won't even accept the 2 year probationary period. They want it to be less. They're saying that this is discriminatory. Why do I have to live as a man if I identified as a woman yesterday? And I'm going through the chemotherapy, whatever it is. This is a real thing happening right now. They're trying to remove. They already changed the like you can change your gender at birth certificate, but now they're trying to make less strong laws to make it less than 6 months long. Like the probation period between you taking your first, seeing your first therapist visit that he claims that you are a woman, and changing your birth certificate gender is literally like they want it to be less than 6 months. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. You can change the gender marker or sex identifier on a birth certificate or driver's license.
Yep, and what
But
they're
also,
claiming.
to round back a little, I looked into it. So once a business is open up to the public, it must stay open up to the public, and it is then under like public laws, like who can use it, who cannot. But if a business is member only, it can pretty much be as discriminatory as it wants.
Nice. Okay. Okay,
So
that's good. So they can
so it
actually
would be
discriminate.
legal.
But let me ask you this:
Yeah.
what's gonna happen? Okay, so they actually have a legal. They're gonna be protected legally because they can
Yes, there could be
discriminate.
like cis women gyms, and that would be
Okay.
legal. Yes.
Now let me ask you this: what are you gonna do then when you can change your birth certificate? And this person now, within less than 6 months from he didn't even start the transitioning, bro. It's just he saw a therapist. I'm telling you, at this point, a therapist claims he's a woman. I don't know if it's I don't know the probationary period, but right now you can change your birth certificate within 2 years. You need to wait 2 years. Sometimes there's less with if you can make justifications less than 2 years. But once you hit that 2 year mark of I don't know if it was first therapy visit or your first hormonal therapy. I'm not sure exactly. I'm confused on that one. But one of those things starts your clock, and within 2 years, you can switch your birth certificate gender. So now let's say they win. They're saying this is discriminatory that we have to wait 2 years. We want this to be less. We want this to be 6 months or 3 months or less. So let's say they get that. Now, what is your answer? How can the actual woman discriminate against these women? They cannot say, oh, this is not a cisgender, because now the birth certificate actually claims that they are. This birth certificate is actually condoning, even though he looks like a man, it says he was born a woman. He hasn't even cut his dick off. It says he was born a woman. Like, I think Dylan Mulvaney already switched his gender and he has his dick. You understand what I mean? I think he switched his birth certificate gender. Hello?
Yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm reading. I was like progressive. Oh, can I read it?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Right
getting
here?
scary, huh? You
Okay.
see it?
Yeah, it's California, right? So it's gonna be like the most progressive, like in the area. I'm wondering,
Kanye, you don't know you can
how does
change
that
your
work
birth
for like?
certificate? Look it up.
There's,
They're saying it's discriminatory that you have to wait 2 years. Can you believe they're saying it's discriminatory that
there's
you have to wait 2 years? This
that
is crazy. By the way, you're cutting off.
like your
You're cutting off. You're
insurance.
cutting off.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty interesting. They're trying to get me. Okay, they're trying to get me before I say something controversial. No,
You don't have to say anything, bro. But do you see where I'm coming from? At this point, like that cisgender Jim now has to accept this dude. He has a dick. I don't know, but I guess they still. You said that they can be as discriminatory as they want. So even if he does prove he's cisgender, or whatever, he can show the birth certificate. They still can disapprove
they
him.
could still be discriminatory. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's good, but I'm worried because what if he claims this is a serious protected class like they did with women? They really level like you see how they overcorrected with women so strongly because they created that protection upon them. They were able to correct. So now women are so protected. They're protected in the laws. They're looked protected in schools. They're protected in all these public spaces, and they were able to do that using public perception and changing of that and creating that status of protection. So they were able to switch Like women couldn't even own any property, or debt or whatever. Now they're 60% of the college graduates. They're 60% of the college. Sorry, they're 60% of the college enrollment. They're graduating college more than men. They're actually basically just completely able to live life. They have actually more rights than men because they can actually choose what human being to come to Earth and what not. The man has no right to say anything, and so they actually have more rights than the man now. And that overcorrection happened because of that protection class. So I'm worried that they create this protection class upon this trans movement, and now this overcorrection is going to correct itself heavy and maybe even create laws against discrimination against them. Because I remember even like for example that gay cake, didn't he get a lawsuit against him and he almost was forced to shut down his shop?
The cake person that denied giving a wedding cake to a gay couple.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I know exactly the case you're talking about. So yeah,
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
look
I'm
into
not
it.
sure what happened to him, but I remember it was he actually lost the case. He actually lost the case. He was forced to either make the cake and he was forced fines upon, like he had to pay the legal fees. So like businesses have no rights to actually enforce anything upon.
Well, that's because it was public, right? I think that was the big question because that's what I said earlier. Remember, if it's public, once it's public, it remains public.
So okay, maybe you're right. Maybe that public class, but that means all public businesses are not protected. So that means now
Kind of, but that's always how
they
it's
have to become
been.
member based, and member based. I'm sure they lose a lot of benefits from that. And so basically, yeah, the business has to run out of business just so they can, you know,
But that's
not.
always how public things have been, right? Public like institutions have always been under like states anti-discriminatory
That makes sense. That makes
discriminatory
sense. That
laws.
makes sense. Is it possible though that those? Yeah, that makes sense because in private institutions you can smoke, but in public maybe you can't. Anyways, let's say they remove that protection from the private institutions, like these member classes. Now they are member only, but they're not allowed to discriminate against these protected classes. Now what do we have?
What are you
Or at
saying?
least if they are discriminatory, they can face lawsuits. Like they can change laws in any moment they want.
I mean, yeah, true, but that's always how anti-discriminatory laws have been. Like, there's a protected class of people. You can't discriminate based on race. You can't discriminate based on sex. You can't discriminate based on like other like characteristics. Just because I feel like society as a whole gets worse like once you do that.
Yeah, interesting. You cannot discriminate.
Well,
We'll see,
you
man.
can discriminate. It's for like public businesses shouldn't discriminate based on these characteristics. Like businesses do discriminate, right? Like businesses won't allow in people that don't have clothes on, right? Like that's discrimination in an aspect. But
That
I
was
think
an
me and you would
interesting
both
case.
agree.
That gay cake case should have like I should have looked into it a little bit more because that actually
Yeah, I'm reading it
changed
right now.
everything.
I'm trying to figure out the final decision because it went all the way up to the Supreme Court.
It says
So
Colorado
it
Baker
seems
who
like they
had
were. It seems like
won a
this.
narrow Supreme Court victory over his
Yeah, he
refusal to
won.
make a wedding cake.
So
Lost his appeal of a ruling in a separate case that he violated a state anti-discrimination law by not making a cake to celebrate a gender transition.
oh, it
Wait,
was a gender. I
what?
thought it was a gay couple. Yeah, it was a gender transition. Okay. Wait. That's. I think you're reading a different one. I'm reading Masterpiece Cake Shop. Is that the one you're on?
No, no, the
Let me.
same Colorado Baker that won the Supreme
Oh, the
Court
exact same
lost the
dude.
second appeal because he wouldn't make a cake for gender transitioning. You see how gender transition is actually stronger. Well, I don't know. He's gonna take it to Supreme Court. I don't
Kind
know if the
of.
Supreme Court will ever hear his case again.
Yeah.
That means
But
that's it. This is the
also,
last appeal.
I assume it was because of a religious like freedom. But I don't know how religious and freedom wouldn't encompass that. How would that not? That is an interesting case. But
That's
yeah, that's.
crazy. Isn't that insane? That means that protected class. That means gender is a protected class over gayness even.
I mean, kind of. My guess is that it's the same decision they gave in the last one, which they again the Colorado State gave the same decision last time, and then he appealed it to the Supreme Court, and that's when they
Yeah,
said like that's
but you
wrong.
would think when the Supreme Court created that new, what is it called, precedence, they should
That
have
yeah
changed
yeah.
it. They should have like especially with him himself. His fucking case went to the Supreme Court, created the precedence, and still he loses appeals over the same exact issue that he holds his own right to basically deal with business however he feels suitable to himself. This is insane. This is insane. This is
True,
actually
but
crazy. That even after he
that's how
wins the
law's
Supreme
been
Court, he's
recently.
still
Law's
losing
getting
appeals.
weird.
For the same exact reason, basically. It's just a different class now.
Kind of.
We're
There's a
looking at the
different,
transgender.
yeah. Well, true, but that's how it is though. Like there is gonna be some strict line between like what you can and what you can't discriminate against, right? Like that is gonna be. My guess is it's gonna come down to what can you discriminate based on religious freedom, right? Because like you can't be racist off of religious freedom. Like that's not a excuse, right? For gay couples, there is like a direct like something that you can point to as if you are expressing your religion. You would be discriminatory against these type of people. I don't think you can make the same case for trans because it wasn't. There's nothing in the Bible at least that's like man has to
Okay,
be
okay.
man. Maybe
I
I'm
looked into
wrong.
the case. It says we conclude that creating a pink cake with blue frosting is not inherently expressive, and any message or symbolism it provides to an observer would not be attributed to the baker. So the only reason he lost his appeal to the second case
That
is
makes
they didn't
sense.
ask him to do any imagery on it. They just wanted a blue and pink cake,
Yeah, it
and
wasn't
then
like the
the
cake was
symbolism.
inherently trans, so yeah. So like why should he
Fucking.
care how the cake is used? I mean that makes sense.
But I mean,
If
for a gender transitioning,
it would be weird
this.
if like I was trying to buy a car and they wouldn't give me it because I have like red hair, like why do you care? Like once the car's mine, it's not in your possession anymore. It's the same type of thing.
Wow, this is interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, like basically you have no right to conduct business how you see fit in a public setting. And you could get sued. I mean, it's not a big sue. It was $500, but I mean, it's just gonna start piling up. Now, gay people are just gonna show up to his bakery to try and make money from him. Now, all he needs is a
Well,
refusal.
he won the gay. He won the gay one. He won the gay one.
He won the gay one, but now anybody can test him. Now they can just keep testing him and
Kind
try to
of. The
keep him
better
in
the better answer
lawfare.
is now people can exercise their right to like act out in public, like what they want to in public, right? Like that's how it should be. I don't think we should set the precedent that you can discriminate people in public services because of that characteristic. Like that's a
But like for
dangerous
example,
precedent to
let's say
set.
this guy is now getting 50 calls a day for gay, blue and pink things. He should be able to create something to stop it. Like he should be able to
Well, I think in that
either
case
either
he could
hire a
maybe
firm to hold off security guards in front of his door to not let gay people in, or I don't know any like shouldn't he be able? Maybe he cannot not allow people to come into his. What are the rules to this? Like, can you force people to not come into your business?
I know you can deny not if it's public. I know when it gets really weird when it's in public, but I'm pretty sure even in public services you can deny service to anyone. You just can't deny the service on the basis of those characteristics.
One
The
last thing I want to
problem
ask:
is,
can you trespass for no reason?
can you trespass for no
Can
reason?
I
What do you mean?
trespass you from my property for no reason?
Probably, like you might not know, you like
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I can trespass. Okay. So that why can't he just trespass them? Like I don't get it. Like I don't know. I
What do you
don't know.
mean?
Why can't you just say, hey, they're not allowed in my property. I don't accept. I don't want to do business with them. I know their
Because it's
family. I don't know. Just create a story. Say, hey, I heard bad news about them. I don't want to do business with them. They hit my brother or their son hit my kid or whatever it is, and just say, hey, I don't want to do business with them,
I mean you
and then
could,
say, hey, you're
right?
kicked out.
You would just have to have a good enough case to where the evidence points towards more that you're denying them based on those things and not on a characteristics that you can't discriminate against them on. Right? Like if a gay,
But the
okay, like
case
let's say
but I said why I discriminate against them. I said, hey, I discriminate against them because they, I don't know, they drove in front of me wildly, and I will never forget that car. And I know that and I've been pissed off ever since they hit me, or they almost have made me crash. So I'm very pissed off, and I don't want to deal with you. You're trespass from here. Why can't he just do that? Why? How can they just make a lawsuit upon him because they requested the cake and he just refused it? It's
well,
crazy.
you can make a lawsuit about anything, right? Because it would be on you, like in your case scenario, it would be on you in court to prove that it was that case scenario, and well, it'd be on them to prove actually that you have a pattern of discriminating on by that class. Like imagine like if you operate a gas station and a person comes in naked and you kick them out, and they come back with a lawsuit and they're like, well, I'm gay and that's why you're doing it. It would
Yeah,
be a very easy court case because on court you would say, well, he was naked, that's why I discriminated against him, and the jury would be like, yeah, he was very easy court
and
case that's why you discriminated against him, and the case would get thrown out.
yeah, and according to you, this is a protected right. He should be protected to be able to do whatever the hell he wants in public. He can
No,
go
so I'm saying you can
and
discriminate based on people on a lot of things, just not on some certain characteristics that we've defined. that you can't discriminate on those things. You
I
can,
don't know,
like I
man.
said,
For
if
me,
someone's naked
if
walking down the
I don't
street,
wanna,
you're not
if
gonna walk past them.
I don't care, man. If I tell you you smell like shit and you go and create a lawsuit,
Well,
okay,
you
let me
can. I
give
think
you
you can
let
discriminate.
me
I
give
think
you
you can
this
discriminate
let
based
me
on
give you a
smell.
protected class. Let me say, for example, I don't have a ramp. Are you gonna sue me? Now they're gonna be able to sue me. That means if I don't have a ramp, that means basically I'm refusing. I'm being discriminatory against disabled people, even though it cost me like $50,000 to install a fucking 2-inch ramp, 3-inch ramp, or sorry, 3 feet ramp, and now he has a case against me because there's no ramp into the building. And that
Uh,
means, is that possible? Is that something that basically they
yes,
can
actually, I
claim
just
that I'm
looked it
being
up.
discriminatory against them because
The
I don't want
under
disabled people in my building because I didn't build a ramp for them?
No, but under federal law, you would be in violation of the federal law from the ADA requires most businesses and facilities to provide reasonable access and accommodations for all disabled customers. So you would have to have some accommodation. That doesn't have to be a ramp. That just has to be something that does accommodate them.
Very interesting. I think this conversation devolved into something else. Like, we're talking about businesses now,
Oh yeah,
but
no, we're
I
so
wanted to
far
see what
off.
businesses' rights have. I mean, I'm surprised that they cannot decline anyone they want. I'm not actually surprised that basically
Yeah, yeah.
we're
If you're
losing
a
all our
public
rights. We have
service,
no rights anymore.
well, that's always how it's been. If you're a public service, there are some things you can't discriminate on. That's how it's been for a very long time.
But I thought religious exemptions
Religiously, you can. There are
matter.
religious exemptions. Yes, there are religious
That I
exemptions.
thought they were actually important. I thought they were the biggest one. I thought there was nothing else. Honestly, think about it. Is there anything else besides being LGBTQ?
I mean, yes, there's a lot of.
What other exemption can you find? Like disabled, the religious, and that's it. And the LGBTQ.
What do you mean? Like, what can you discriminate with people on? Like legally? Like, oh, sorry, what can't
No,
you?
I'm like, what are the true protected classes besides? It used to be black people and the minorities. Now it's not,
Uh,
and
okay, so
it's now women and disabled and the freaking
here's the
religious
list.
people. That's it. And now
Here's the
we won't
list.
even protect against the religious people, which are a protected class. They should be getting exemptions, even in a public setting, even running as a business. You cannot just change all your beliefs completely just to line up with the state. You can try your best, but you don't have to change everything, a single thing. So it's creepy to me that basically anybody that I decline service, if I don't have a good enough reason to decline their service, they have a case against me, and now I have to pay them money, and
Well,
I can just get
that's how
harassed
the
to
legal system
oblivion
works.
now.
You do, yeah, you have to prove why you discriminated against them, right? And it has to be that it wasn't one of these classes. So the classes are, you can't discriminate people based on their national origin, race, color,
Handicap
religion,
is a bad
disability,
word.
sex, and familial status.
Yeah, race, sex, familiar status.
Like family structure, I'd assume, but yeah,
Familial.
religion's one of them. Disability, yeah.
I'm just surprised, man. Basically, I don't know. Maybe the business has no protection because the business is its own entity. It's not a
It depends.
religious
Yeah,
entity.
yeah. It depends on if it's like a public service. Like public services probably shouldn't. Like it is in the best interest of the people that public services can't discriminate based on these things. Because like you can think it back to when schools were segregated. That wasn't like a good thing. I mean, depending on how like you segregated, but that's not like a good thing in America. Or at least it wasn't. Right? Separate but equal was a pretty important case. We need to
So,
see that.
so okay, okay, I got you. So I think they have the right to actually discriminate. And okay, I'm actually still not clear because we claim that, okay, so is a public business different than a member-based business? It's
Yes, because
totally
it's
different,
private.
huh?
So think about this. Yeah, yeah. Think about this. So like public schools can't discriminate based on those factors, but there are females only schools and there are men only schools, right? Because those are private institutions that you pay
Okay,
for.
perfect. So as long as they create a privacy protection, they're happy. Now the worry would be if that privacy protection is going away, so we need to keep our eyes
Yeah, but
there.
I don't see that
But that would
anywhere.
be the
Yeah.
biggest indicator, right? That something big is happening. Is that privacy
Yes,
protection
yes.
is gone?
That would be pretty scary if they
Okay,
took away
so
private
at least we agree
protections.
there. Now let's go back. Let's try to agree when it comes to this definition of what a woman is, because I feel like we need to come to an agreement because we can agree what a cup is and why it's not a bowl. I know it's
Kind
hard, but
of.
we can come to this when we talk to each other. So we
Kind
can.
of. We could both agree that that definition fits under that word, but we could never agree that that word fits under that definition because there's always going to be an outlier.
Yeah, you're always gonna find a cup that looks like a bowl, and you might call
Yeah.
it a bowl, and I might always look at it as a cup, and we're gonna differentiate there. But there has to be an essence. The essence is it holds water, and there's something about it that makes it a cup and it's not a bowl. The thing about a bowl is maybe you can fit in a lot of you can fit in bread. The bowl is a bowl because soup is easier to eat from a bowl than a cup. Like I can give you at least an expression, a definition, a statement that describes what a bowl is that's not regressive. I never ever had to claim a cup is whatever a cup wants to think of itself as a cup. Do you see? I was able to create a non-regressive definition of what a cup is.
But there
A
was
cup is something that can hold liquid or solid, holds liquid and solid in different forms and shapes, but is there. But then I can claim like. But then you tell me why is a cup not a bowl? I'll tell you because the bowl you can eat from it, whereas the cup is
See,
hard
even
to eat from
there,
it.
yeah, even your definition didn't fit everything because then you're left with like more questions, right? Like,
Of
what about
course.
stuff that doesn't fit? Yeah, what about cups that have holes in them? Like, we would agree that a cup with a hole in it still is a cup, but it does have a hole in it. It
Yeah,
no longer holds
it's a
water.
broken cup, but that's what we do. We create new categories to this thing, so it actually creates a new essence to it. It's similar in essence, but it's a new form. It's a new thing that we have to claim upon it because we cannot keep saying this is the same cup, or we would confuse each other. Like this cup is not the same thing as a bowl. We have to create a new category of definition to it, or we're confusing each other because you're saying a bowl. Like when you say cup, you're looking at a bowl in your head, and when I say cup, I'm looking at a cup in my head. So you have to be able to create a category definition. So you would say this is a cup that looks like a bowl. So this is a bup, for example.
Kind of,
or
but yeah,
maybe for
but
you it's
even
a
yeah,
cowl.
I do like this because you even see like the problem with this conversation, right? Like, because you even are you can see the nuance in it because like there are going to be people that are like, well, a woman is obviously this thing, but even you can now see that when it comes to these types of definitions, that they're gonna be outliers, and that's the problem with the conversation. So when someone asks you to strictly define what something is, you even yourself said it. Well, when you get down to like defining a cup, well, then someone's gonna like be like, well, what's the
But
bowl?
but
What's
you
the
have to
cup?
be able to do something that's not regressive though. So I never appealed to regression. I never appealed to the cup knowing itself. So you have to be able to appeal
Kind
to
of.
something outside of the
But
cup.
you appealed to the ability of someone to identify what a cup
No, but
is.
no, I appeal to a cup being no. I appeal to a cup holding water or holding
Yeah, but so
liquid.
many things hold
I know.
water.
I
Like,
appeal
what's
to its function. I appeal to its function. Its function is that,
true,
or its form. Its form is that it holds liquid and it's
true,
used
but
to drink.
a vase and a cup both fit under those definitions. So does a
Exactly,
bowl, so does
exactly.
anything that can
But
hold
I will
water.
disagree with you. This is not a vase. This is a cup. Now we're going to disagree there. But you have to be able to create a non-regressive definition. So you'll tell me you can't say, "Oh, a vase is a vase because this cup is a vase because a vase identifies or this cup
Well,
identifies as a
kind of
vase." You
actually.
have
If
to
I
be
put
able
a
to say this
flower in
cup
a
is a
cup, it's
vase
kind of a
because
vase.
this vase is it can hold roses. And I would tell you,
But
well, if
wait,
it's a vase, this is a really bad vase. It's a better cup. Then we would
let's
disagree
say
there.
let's say I have a pretty big cup, I fill it with water, and I put a flower in it, and
Why you
then
gotta
someone
say
goes,
big,
"That's a
pretty big
vase."
cup like that? God damn
I'm
it!
just saying. I'm just saying. If
Yeah, yeah,
it's
big. What if I have a
it,
pretty big cup?
Okay, but like, let's say I had a cup, I fill it with water, I put a flower in it, and it's just a glass cup. Just base, right? And then someone goes, "That's a vase." Like, are they wrong? Because under your definition of vase, it
All
would
right, let's
probably
say you have a
fit.
pretty big cock. What?
No, 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 no. But yeah, if you have a big cup and you fill it with water, and then you put up flowers in it, and someone comes over and they go, "That's a vase," but what is there does
Yeah,
fit under your
I would tell him
definition of
no, no.
vase.
Yeah, it appears to you as a vase, but this is actually a cup because you have limited knowledge.
So
You
what's
don't
the
know that the
difference between a
manufacturer
cup
labeled
and a
this as a
vase in
cup.
that circumstance?
But then we're gonna disagree. You're gonna be like, okay, well, this is no. This is a vase because a vase is supposed to hold roses and it's bigger than a cup
Well,
and it does do similar functions. But a vase has a totally different form than a cup because why would you walk around?
yeah.
It's the function of a vase as a cup is not ideal, but a function as a cup. As a vase is not ideal, so there's a function for a cup that's ideal to become a cup, and there's a function for the vase to be ideal to become a vase.
That's
So what
pretty
we do,
perfect. Yeah.
what you're doing is actually you're misdefining
No, no,
it
no,
with what
wait.
you're doing.
Because you were pretty close to, yeah, you're pretty close to a fundamental idea here, though. Because like what you just said, like, yeah, it has to have the idea. It has to use it like a cup. Like if you use something like a cup and it serves the uses of a cup, that makes it a cup, right? Like that's what I would point to for women. Someone who identifies and expresses as a woman, and you can look at them and you think that they're a woman. That's what I would consider a woman, right? Because it expresses as that, you see it as that,
Yeah,
right?
but what's
So,
the essence
like,
of the womanhood? For example, I'll say the essence of
it's
a
an
cup is its structure. What's the essence of a womanhood?
Kind of, but there's going to be so many different structures that can make up a cup, right? Like there
We're
could be
gonna
a cup
disagree,
that's
but at some point, using language, I can create a good enough definition that actually describes most cups. So,
but most.
can you
That's
describe most women?
most women are going to be people that express with what I commonly refer to as like what a woman expresses as. I
But
like
what
the
is
word
that? I
womanhood.
still don't know what that is
Womanhood is what
because
I would say.
I
So like
told you
my
the
traits
structure
that
of this
define
cup
like a
cannot be, for
woman.
example, like a cup can be rectangular. It's still a cup. You're right. You're right. To me, maybe you can call it a rectangular cup, but to me, I would just call it a cup. So we're gonna disagree because language is difficult and language is like
Yes.
it's rhetorical. It's basically saying
Ex-
the same thing over and over, but we have to be able to describe the essence. You cannot use the regressive
kind
definition
of.
for the essence. I cannot say a cup is
But
whatever a cup looks like. That doesn't make
that's kind of what
sense.
you're doing. That's kind of what you're doing though.
No, no, I say a cup. No, I say this is not a cup because its function is better as a
But you have no
vase, for
idea.
example. And
But
I will
let's say
describe
but a
it,
vase
but I
is
don't
a
say it's not a cup because it's a cup.
but a vase's function could be to drink water, right? Like you can drink water out of a vase.
Yes, yes, but actually, for example, this cup doesn't hold roses as best as a vase is. So this
But
wouldn't be. It's better as a cup, and a vase is too big for you to hold in one hand. So it's better as a vase.
true.
So
But what if
I can
what if a
appeal to its
trans
functions, and that would be really the only definition is its form is what it looks
the
like.
what?
And so, like, try to define to me what a woman looks
Oh
like,
wait,
but try not to be regressive. That's all I'm asking for.
you
Like,
done something really well there. You said, well, this could
I
be
know I'm
considered a
getting
vase.
close to you. Yeah, I know I'm giving like
You
me and
said
you were kind of aligning.
yeah, we're pretty close in this aspect. But the thing is, you said, well, this vase could be a cup, but it's way better as a vase. That's kind of the same view on trans women. You could say that that trans woman is a cis male, but if they more correctly express and look like a woman, then you would probably put them in the category of women, right?
So if trans man is the cis man, then you would be able to put him in the category of woman better.
I'm saying yeah, kind of. You said that like, well, you could say that this is a cup and you could say it's a vase, but it's a better cup than it is vase, so we're gonna consider it cup. You could say that a trans woman is a cis man, but isn't it more evenly, well,
Yeah,
depending on the
but
trans
to be
woman,
able to
but there are
say
going to be
that,
some
yeah, but
that
to be
more
able to say that, you should be able to define womanhood, and you're not able to do that. You're able
kind of,
to
but you're
tell me
not
what a
able to
womanhood
describe. You even agreed though.
appears.
You can't define cup. There's gonna be cups that are outliers. That's the problem.
No, I can define the cup. I can say the cup structure is something
But
that
there's
can
gonna be different
hold
structures.
liquids, and I can hold it in my hand, and I can draw you a picture of a cup. You can't even draw me a picture of what a woman looks like. You don't know.
One, you could easily just draw a picture of a woman, but two, but there are gonna be cups that fit that definition, right? Or that don't fit that
Can we
definition,
say a
right?
woman has two X chromosomes and man has Y chromosome? No, you can't. You can't
Or
even use.
I can even quantify it. There are going to be things that aren't cups
I
that
don't
fit
think
that
you can.
definition.
Sorry, what?
I said the problem with that definition though is there are going to be cups that fit outside that definition, and there are going to be things that aren't cups that fit inside that definition.
Yes, but you're claiming upon them a new definition. You would not say, "Oh, this is not a cup," because actually it's just not a cup. No, you would say this is not a cup because this looks like a vase, and I will tell you why it looks like a vase because it has these certain characteristics that give it the vase shape, and that's why it appeals to me more to be a
You
vase.
you just made the
So,
same argument I
you're
did. You
not able
said
to
that it's
do
a vase
so.
because you said it looks like a vase because it has the characteristics of a vase. That's what I say for woman. I say it's a trans woman because that's the characteristics of a woman. We're the same.
Okay, I accept you to call trans women, but we have to accept that these are not the same category. So, for example, like I say, a bean chair is a chair, but when I tell you, is this a bean chair? You will never ever see a chair, a regular four-legged wooden chair with a back ever, or this racing chair. You have to give it, when we give it that new category, that new definition, that new noun in front of the word chair, the ultimate category, like the overwhelming, the objective category is chair, but then there's a descriptive category, which is that it is a bean chair. So if you, when I tell you, hey, this is a bean chair, and you see a chair, a wooden chair, you're actually wrong. You see what I mean? So when you say this
Yeah.
is a trans woman is a woman, that's actually wrong because you're using a different definition to what that thing is.
No.
Because you're
If I
making it
pointed
in my head look a certain different thing.
if I pointed at a beanbag chair and said that's a chair, it's a correct statement. It's a type of chair. But if I said that chair right there is a wooden chair, that's where you would say that's wrong. Like, so if I point at, like, if you were with like a trans woman, they said they're a woman, they are a trans woman, so they are a woman. They're not a cis woman though. So
Okay,
if I said a
define what a chair
cis
is,
woman,
and I'll tell you why a bean chair can never be a chair.
I
I'll show you.
probably couldn't, man. It could have four legs, it can have two, it can have
No, but
zero. It's
define in
commonly
general. The
okay.
most.
It can have anywhere from 4 to 0 legs. Its common use
So a
is to
bean
sit
chair can
on
never
it.
be a chair because bean chairs have 0 legs. So that's what I'm telling you.
That's
A
why I said
bean
it has
chair is a
4 or 0.
brand new category. It appears to you as the same form or as same essence, but they're
But
actually
it's
different forms, and they're similar essence. You're right. They appear to have the same essence, but they're different forms, so they're different categories. Like
but
a
nothing in
sword is
this.
not a knife. It has the same essence. It cuts things sharp. It has the same essence, but it's a
True.
different
I have a
form.
way to quantify this. But yeah, but the thing is, they all under this. So like when it comes to like dagger, like so if you have a dagger and a knife, right, and someone says these are both weapons, like they're
Let's
right,
go,
like
hookah.
they're
That sounds
correct.
like a great
But if
idea.
they said that dagger is a knife, they'd be wrong. So when it comes down to it, the general group that these things are under are the same group, right? So like a beanbag chair is under the group of chair. It's just not the exact same chair as another chair, but it's still under the general group of chair. So
Yeah,
when it
but what
comes,
I'm
but
telling you is if you don't call this trans woman, if you call this trans woman a woman, you're actually miscategorizing it. Just like if you, I guess if you say this bean chair is a chair,
that'd be right. Like that would no one. I don't think anyone would correct me on that if I was like, look at that. Like that's my chair. Like you can sit there. Like they would be, yeah, beanbag chair. Like
I
sit
don't
there.
know, if
Yeah.
you bring a date and you tell her, hey, look, sit on my chair, she'd laugh at you if it's a bean chair.
Well, true, but that's because it's a beanbag chair, man. That has nothing to do with
But it's because in her
it.
head, when she saw the idea of what a chair is, she never imagined it to be bean chair. She would have thought of you calling it a bean chair. So what you did is you confused her. So what's
But do you
happening
know?
is
Did you
we're
see how
using
your
language to
definition?
confuse people.
Kind of, but did you see how what you referred to there wasn't like a strict definitional problem? It was like what we thought of as a problem, right? That
It's a
is the
categorical
difficulty.
problem. I think we
It
miscategorized
wasn't
that
though.
chair.
Even your hypothetical wasn't a categorical problem. It was what this person thinks a chair is different than what I think a chair is,
No,
or what
I
this
think
person
what I tried to
commonly
claim is
associates.
I think what I tried to claim is they couldn't even no they miscategorized the actual question. I think what my claim was that they thought the question was about quali or qualia, and it's like the subjective experience, which is basically if I ask you what does a woman feel like, what does living like a woman feel like, and that's true. It's very hard to explain, but you should be able to define the essence of what a woman is. So when somebody asks you what is a woman, like what is an apple? Okay, so for example, if I describe to you and ask you what does an apple taste like? Yeah, you're right. That's qualia. It's very hard to explain, and that's what Destiny was getting get to. He's saying that that's qualia. It's a subjective experience. Even if I try to explain to you, I won't be able to. But then the definition that what they asked them wasn't what does an apple taste like. What they asked them is what is an apple. Like what they wanted to know is why is an apple not an orange? That's their questioning, and he couldn't give them an adequate answer.
True, but that's because what he was asking for a definition on wasn't like a physical thing. It was on like a social construct, right? Like that was a gender identity, right? It was an identity. An identity is a very hard thing to describe because what an identity is to someone is going to be different from person to person. Like here's a good way to
But now it
describe
kind
this
of
because
looks
I
like
think we
Steve
could
Jobs.
like you can agree on this. What I think of like an ideal man
That's
is
true.
like what's
He's
an ideal
Syrian.
man to
Steve
me
Jobs
is
is
going to be
Syrian.
different to you based on how we were raised, how what we strive
You
for.
know
Like
that
those are
he's
going to be
Syrian.
different things. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see. I see what you mean. I'm just surprised. Like for example, if you ask
I
me what is
get
a woman, I'll be like, yeah, a woman is a person that was born with the female genitalia. And if a person was not born with female genitalia, I would not describe them as a woman. I would say there's something else. And a woman is not that she's weak. A woman is not that she's not as strong as a man. A woman is not that she's not smart as a woman. A woman is not that she sits in the kitchen. A woman is not that she's feminine. That's not what makes a woman. That's not the essence
true.
of what a woman is.
But here's the
The
question.
essence
Here's the
of what a
question.
woman is that she was born into womanhood and that she has those female genitalias because that's the only thing that's unreplicatable. That's what essence is. Like, why is a knife not a fucking wallet? Because there's something unreplicatable within their essence, and that's the
But
very important part.
But you're able to identify when you walk down the street, like who is a woman and who isn't, right?
Can I identify? Well, today with the social technology, well, sorry, yeah, with the scientific technology, it's very hard actually to identify, especially with makeup and all of that. It's actually very hard for me to identify what a woman is. You can hide what a woman is. There's so many different products that actually are used to create chaos, like these bras that look like you have real tits but you don't, or fittings on your butt, or procedures that you could do. So it's very hard for me to know what a woman is, but that's what I'm telling you. I don't describe a woman as what she looks like to
Kind
me.
of.
I
But
say
did
what
you
a woman
notice?
is. There's an essence to womanhood. This woman is this big woman. This is a woman is a slut woman. I give them different categories, but their essence is that this woman is born into with this genitalia. Because
Kind of. But
because
you're gonna walk by women on the street and you're going to in your mind think that they are women, but you
yeah, they
don't
appear
know
to me
what they
as
were
women,
born.
but they're not true women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be women you walk by on the street, but you don't know what
That's
gender
where
they
we're
had
gonna
at
do.
birth.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna create the confusion. So that's where the vase looks like a cup, but then somebody else comes and gives me no, no, no. Actually, this vase, you're making the wrong definition because you're actually limited in knowledge and you didn't have all the knowledge. That's what happened. So I created a categorical mistake because I was limited in knowledge. But once I have all the knowledge, then I should be able to recategorize this woman and say, oh, this is a trans woman. Now I know more
Well, but you
knowledge.
shouldn't have all the knowledge, right? Like we're not entitled to like what's in people's pants when we walk down the street,
You
right?
actually are. You actually are entitled. For example, maybe not walking down the street, but in the gym scenario that I was
Yeah, that's
expressing
what
to
I
you.
mean. Like that's why I say like when walking down the street. So like when you walk down the street past people, you're gonna put a gender onto them. You're
But
gonna
I'll
put
be
a gender
honest with you, the
identity.
problem is never walking down the street. The problem is when they come to you.
Legality.
No,
Or
the
I was gonna
problem
say
is when they come to
legality.
you. They come to you with the offering you questions. They come to you looking for a cake. They come to you trying to come to the gym. That's when the problem happens, when they try to come to you and come into your space. I'm never going after them. We're never actually chasing after them. It's what the problem is, if you look at it, is when they're coming to the bathrooms, when they're coming to the lockers, when they're coming to the women's spaces and women's sports systems, that when they're taking the women's scholarships. It's not when we go after them. We don't go after anybody. They're coming after us and they're creating these problems and they're winning. The legal system's protecting them. We just looked at it and it's just very dangerous. And then we can't even describe what it is. So I'm just saying, man, we got to be very careful. I hope we can agree that this is something maybe me and you were just not limited in knowledge and we need a little bit more, somebody actually with formal
So
scientific knowledge.
yeah, what you're coming upon here is like the big problem is because like while it's easy for me to set these boundaries and these standards for like social interaction, when you get to like legal interactions, that's when it gets like so much more difficult, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you said that.
One second, there's someone in my chat named Manar Report. No, but you would, yeah, that's where it gets scary. Like that's where I come off as more conservative, right? Because I don't like the idea of if someone expresses as a woman, do they get the benefits or the same legal responsibilities that we only give to women or we only give to men, right? That's where like, and same thing with sports, right? I don't like the idea of if someone identifies as a woman, are they entitled to women's sports, women's scholarships? I don't know how I feel about that. I'm pretty against it, right?
But I think
But
you're not comfortable with it because you recognize wait. This is like an extremism. Like this is
kind of,
interfering into a protected
I just
class. You're recognizing that what we're doing is wrong, but you're recognizing there's something wrong because of it. Because you're recognizing that there are mischaracterization. I think you
kind
can
of, it's
recognize it
more
deep inside that there's a mischaracterization, that these trans women should never be characterized as women. They should be characterized that whole this different characterization. They could be a protected class, but they should do it throughout their own experience. They cannot be added to the protected class as women. They should be their own trans women protected class, and then they have their own sports, they have their own colleges, whatever, scholarships and everything.
yeah, well, it's not that I know what my problem is here's my problem
Yeah,
with this
recognizing
idea, right? Is
something is
because I
wrong.
feel like, and I think we would agree that men are biologically
Kanye,
stronger
Kanye,
than
I'm
women
getting
on
close. We're
average.
getting close.
So if a person undergoes male puberty, like they are going to have testosterone, and that's easier.
Unfair
It's
advantage
easier
equals
to gain
cheating.
muscle
Yep.
when you have testosterone. That's why
I
people take
mean,
some forms of steroids.
if it's
So I think the
if
idea of
it's not
having
because
men and women's
you're
sports when
born
genetically
with
they
it and
are
you
off,
or talent, if
especially
it's just
after
because you
puberty,
became a woman.
they are like more on average going to have more physical capabilities. I think that's wrong. So yeah, that's where my problem comes in.
I know, but to be honest, even that at sports, at some point they're going to be able to argue against you because you accepted that trans women are women. Now you cannot claim that there's an unfair advantage that equals to cheating because there are unfair advantages in all of sports. For example, all of sports, the taller guys are always going to be in basketball picked better. There's always unfair
True,
advantages. Are
but
you going to say that these taller people are cheating? Are you going to say that these
no.
women that are men that came that you accepted as women but they are actually trans men, but you accepted as women, are you going to be able to say that, oh, this is unfair, this is cheating because they're a little bit bigger, taller, stronger? You can't do that anymore because you accepted them as women. You mischaracterized them. Now you're going to fall into that hold that in sports you cannot say an unfair advantage is cheating, because people are bigger and stronger and they're just gonna beat you.
Kind of. The answer I would give to that, because you are right, that is an actual like liberal
I
talking
got that
point.
was a good point. You got to give it to me. That's a great
Well,
point.
because that is a liberal talking point, right? In these conversations, in these debates, is that, well, there's always going to be people who are more physically capable. The answer I would give personally is that yes, but on average, it's not like a woman is stronger than a woman through their genes and through makeup. It is a woman on average is going to be less physically capable than a man in some aspects, and nothing will change that, right? When with women and women, they both had the same genetic makeup. It's just more who are the parents, what is the genes makeup when you get down to it,
Yeah,
what is the differences.
but
So that'd be
because
my answer to that.
because you won't recharacterize trans women as their own
Well,
category,
I
you're
do.
forced now to let trans women compete with women.
If you push me on me, I personally right now would be for splitting cis women's sports and trans women's
But
sports.
why?
I'd be
Why
for
are you
that.
not aligned completely with this narrative? Because you yourself see there's some holes in this narrative and we need to be dealing with it. So I'm surprised that Destiny can just be sufficed with saying, oh, this is a very complicated question, and not
Well,
actually
because it
dive deep
is.
into
You
the
even
question. He
agreed.
actually tried to just skim over and run away from it, actually.
I mean, but you agreed though. Like you even agreed a few times during the debate, like it or talk. I wouldn't say this is a debate.
Yeah, I
This is
think
way
because
more
I
informal.
mischaracter. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, yeah, because I think we're very close. Like the way we understand language is very close. It makes sense because that's how that's how we talk to each other because we understand language in a very close way, so we can relate with one another. I think what we're doing is we're trying to understand where is the divide, and the divide I think is the mischaracterization that we're
The divide
using.
is
Like
socially. I think the divide is socially,
I
right? So
think the
I'm probably
divide
gonna
is
agree with you on
uh,
everything legally, and I'm probably gonna agree with you on everything like school related. I don't think
okay,
that like they should be on the space, but when it comes to like social, like I'm fine with
but you
like
also
thinking
agree
a
with me
woman.
biologically too.
Yeah, yeah, but so does everyone. I would hope at least. If someone's trying to argue that a trans woman is like genetically a woman at birth, or
So
for
what
lack
do
of
you
a better
mean
word, stupid.
socially then? What is socially like?
So if a
They can
trans
go to the
woman wanted
bathrooms?
to,
Like I don't get
no, no,
this
no, no,
social.
no, kind of. I mean, I'd probably be for that, depending on how they express. I don't think a man with a beard should be able to go to a woman's bathroom, but if he expresses a woman, he should
Bro,
probably be
you'll
able to go to
see
the bathroom.
crazy shit, bro. Bro,
Yeah,
now
but
in my fucking men's locker room, no, not even the men's locker room. In my gym, the men are wearing these tight fucking. You know they used to make these jokes about the coach and his tight pants. You know what I'm talking about? Those
yeah.
movies. The coach always wearing those tight pants. You can see his bulge all the time. This tiny bulge. That's what they're wearing now in my gym. This short little dude's wearing the tightest shorts, the tightest clothes. I couldn't believe it, and he's just walking around with his ass showing.
But the thing at the end of that though is gonna be like, I know like when it comes down to it that there are so personally on bathrooms, right? There are countries that have neutral gendered bathrooms and they do work, right? But personally, I don't know. That's a little weird. I would never push for neutral gendered bathrooms. I'd still push for
But
two
that's
genders. I
crazy
don't
because
care.
me and you we align on everything. You're just
Well,
refusing
legally,
to accept
not
the
socially.
traditional worldview. No, we align
Well,
biologically, legally. We align. We
so
see concerning patterns. Like me and you, we agree if there's this private this member only protection is going to be removed, which could be removed in any moment. Any moment. There, I mean, they actually
I
are
don't see it
affecting
happening.
taxes for the businesses. They're affecting their classifications. They're affecting a lot of things. And let's say, so you're seeing a lot of concerning things and a lot of concerning patterns. You actually agree with me on a lot of things. I think we're just divided on what is you're not traditional like me, and you're more modern, I guess, in
Kind
your
of.
view.
I would say this though: if someone came up to you and they were a trans woman and they asked you to refer to them by she, like her, like, do you refer to them by she, her? Or do you
Yeah,
go
yeah,
by like,
I refer to them as
okay?
she,
So
her.
then, yeah, then we probably do agree on
But
most
that's
things.
not. But I don't look at him and I'm like, oh, this is a 100% a woman I can marry.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I'm
you
not
can
gonna be
say
like
that.
that. I'll be like,
Well,
okay, this
correct.
guy is a little bit, in the head. I'm not. I don't want to screw with him. If a drug dealer walks around saying, "Hey,
Well,
call me
that's
a puppy," I'm gonna be like, "Yes, puppy."
well, we disagree a little bit there. I don't see it as like that much. I don't see it as a mental illness, right? So we disagree there, but
No,
that's
no, no.
obvious. Like that's some
I'm not
religion.
necessarily saying it's mental illness. I'm just saying, bro, this guy, I'm not messing with him. I'm just gonna
Oh, okay.
call.
Well, I
I
mean,
don't want
everyone's allowed their
problems. Is what I'm
preferences.
trying to say.
True, but everyone's allowed their preferences, all right? Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
push
yeah.
for.
But would you characterize? Would you be able to say definitionally speaking, this guy is a woman? No, you can't. You can say this guy appears to be a woman. He thinks of himself as a woman.
True,
He
but that's the same
appears
for
as a
every
woman,
person
but
you
he
meet
is
in
not
society.
actually a woman categorically.
Every person you meet in society technically doesn't fit under your definition of woman because you don't know what thing. Well, some of them. For most, like 99.9% of people you meet in public, you don't know what's between their legs, so they don't technically fit into your definition. They could, but you don't know if they do.
But I don't care about my definition. I'm looking for the definition, the legal definition of what a woman is in the dictionary. Is look, I'm
I
gonna look it
think
up right now.
I think it's someone that describes themselves as a. I think it's
If
like the
that's
first
the
one
definition,
is
an adult female human being, that's the definition. An
an
adult
adult.
female human being, and that's basically the exact same thing I tried to categorize. And this is before I even knew this definition. Is because it's because the thing that differentiates the actual essence, what forms a woman, like what the essence of a woman is that birth, that gender of birth, that feminine. It's not the femininity. It's
But
not the
even when you
characteristics of
even when
being
you
weak.
look through, but if you look through the definition of female, even on Google, you're gonna get that the definition of a female is a woman or a girl. So even its definition is regressive.
A female member of a workforce team. Yeah, they're giving you. Oh, it's a female member of a workforce team. So anybody that identifies as a female is a woman.
And anyone that's a woman is a
Is
woman.
this is this
Anyone
is
that's a
basically regressive?
yeah, that's the
Because they
problem with
use instead of
identities.
using woman, they just say female, an adult
Yes.
woman.
Yeah, and then if you look into the definition of female, the definition's woman, and then when you look into woman, the definition's female. It's a very
Okay,
regressive
okay. Let's look at
thing.
the definition of female. It's an adjective. It's not actually a noun. Interesting.
Look at it as a noun. No, no, no. That's the adjective definition. Look at it as a noun.
All right, let me look at it as
You can
a
click to see
noun, a
more.
feminine, a female animal or planet,
Next
a
one.
female person, a woman or girl. Yeah,
See what I mean? It's
basically-
regressive.
They're regressive definitions. Holy shit! Even
Yeah.
Google is using regressive definitions.
That's the problem with Yeah, that's the problem with identities. That's what I was trying to point out. Yeah.
Very interesting. So now I'm understanding a little bit where the confusion is coming from. The language has been being manipulated. I think the language is getting militarized. Because people are using regressive definitions more commonly to define things, and it's hard to define. Like if I say a cup is whatever a cup looks like, then I literally just destroyed what the meaning of a cup is. Because now no one will ever know what a cup is, because no one knows what a cup looks like. You know, or maybe a cup to you, it looks like a bowl. That means I manipulated you completely. You know, I say this is a cup because a cup is a cup, and to you a cup is a whenever I say the word cup, a bowl comes into your brain. So now you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. You're using your own, like, it's crazy. So they're manipulating language, they're militarizing it.
This is going to be very off topic, but do you want to know a fun fact about a study I recently read on torture?
Yeah,
Is
let's
that
get off of this topic. I'm happy with this.